one thing that was pretty interesting. So we used to talk to a lot of high performing leaders on why do they think they're high performing, or what is that secret sauce, right?
Yep.
And what is their panic, and what is keeping them up at night. So one thing that surprisingly show up every now and then is their fear of relinquishing control, because they have been now celebrated as high performers. So now they put a lot more weight and pressure on their decisions, right? Because they have, it's like an inertia. Now they have been great. Now they have to be great. So if you are a leader, which, like, if we talk about high performance, and then we talk about uh, their hesitation to relinquishing control, because that means I'm giving my sword to you and letting you fight, which which basically puts some dent on my quality of my decision, because now it's dependent on you. And if you and we have been always asked to talk about high performance. We also always used to celebrate success in terms of performance. So when you hear it, and I think you said a bunch of interesting things, that we have to celebrate failures, because that has a lot more role to play in my success than my few successes that has brought me to where I am today. How do you see it when you see a leader that is struggling to, basically relinquishing the control, giving it to others, letting other decide, letting other perform, and building other leaders? Because I think, other thing I keep hearing a lot, and definitely not from good leader, because that's a I quickly judge them that maybe this is not right, is, hey, if I give my trade secrets away, then I'm worthless. And that has been a it's surprisingly large community of leaders have this sort of monolithic thinking. So as a team leader, or as a leader who is encouraging leaders to build strong teams, what's your vantage point? What's
Yeah.
your thought on this?
Well, it's a valid point, and it truly does exist out there in a big way. And when I talk to people like that, there's a couple things, and again, it has to be a willing participant.
Hmm.
Someone who is operating in that kind of mindset and continues to do so, really, when it's peeled down to its core, is all fear driven. Um, and fear is a extremely powerful emotion, and it can cause leaders to do things that really make the entire experience very lonely, and very this continued pursuit for the next thing. Um, See, as human beings, I truly believe, and I could equate it to the athletic side too. You're pursuing this goal of yours, and you have control over your own actions and steps, and you're doing everything you possibly can to make this dream come true. And your participation in it and the things that you have control over are things that, along the way, you've built to a level that has made you highly successful. And as you're going along the way, if you were to reflect back and ask yourself, how many others were included in the process? How many others were I connected to have an experience that was not just mine? And when I talk to those people, I ask them, how happy are you really? And this is a common answer that I'll get. It's, I was elated when I got the golden ring. I was elated when I achieved the goal. But I almost automatically, not too soon thereafter, had this feeling, is this all there is to it? And then I had to go pursue the next thing. That was the elation that brought me back to, okay, let me go after the next thing. And maybe that's what's going to bring me total joy and happiness. Okay. And so it's a very lonely place for many of them, if they were to truly be honest. Okay. they may not even be able to tap into that. So my answer to your question is this: I would sit down with that person, and the first thing I would ask them is, what are you so afraid of? I mean, what are you really so afraid of? And when it comes down to it, it truly is failure. That if they let go of control, the whole thing is going to fall apart, and no one can do it as well as me. And it's a formula for drudgery, drain, burnout, and feeling, again, very alone. And so if you can get them to tap into that, it truly is really only fear, then it becomes a question of introducing them into things like, let's work on gratitude. Let's work on serving others. Let's work on, and I'll just tell you that these are foreign to that individual. These are foreign. They're not in their sphere of their radar of things that they needed to develop qualities around or skill sets around. And it's a crawl before you walk, a walk before you run, a run before you sprint. You're not going to turn that person around overnight. But there's got to be, as a leader, like if I'm the leader of that leader and somewhere above him or a mentor of that person, I think I owe it to that individual to try to get and introduce some different things into their vocabulary, into their consciousness that wasn't anything they spent any time thinking about. And what are the benefits and value? Here's the thing, right? Introduce it again, reinforce the benefits of the values of it, reinforce the benefits and the values of it, reinforce the benefits and the values of it, and then deliver actionable steps that person has to take to shift it. And then you have to continue to stay at that. And I hate to say this, but guess what? There comes a point as a leader where you begin to say, I know this is my best performer. But is he really, in the long run, helping us become the best possible version of ourselves? As a leader, I owe it to every one of my teammates to have the best potential to succeed. And although this individual would be very difficult, here's the fear that gets in the way. And it's always interesting to me, right? That companies will hold on to people who are the best performers, but there's so many other things about them that are destructive to the whole. And they don't see the forest between the trees. They only see that person's performance, but what they don't know is how much that person is holding everything else down.
Fair point.
That if they were building 5 other people to be as good as they were, now all of a sudden we have 5, 6, 7 people. This person that has this control. And that's fearful for a leader. And I'll close it with this, because if I make that person change, or if I get rid of that person, I'm going to lose this much more in performance, revenue, income, and so on and so forth. And then we get into an integrity issue, which is a whole nother matter in my book.
Right.
You know, what is our level of integrity of a corporation? What's the message we're sending out to all of our employees based on certain performers? So, you know, it's interesting. All I can tell you is it's interesting. But what a great challenge. What a great challenge.
Yeah.